Hi there, welcome to this week's episode of The Heart of Your Youth Leader. My name's Andy Castle, I'm your host, and it's great to have your company. What I want to think about today is something that I realise I don't think I've ever been asked by a church leader or a youth minister or worker when I've applied to be the youth worker or a volunteer youth leader on a team. And that is the question I've never been asked is, Andy, is your life a good example to follow? And it got me thinking this just recently, because at the end of the day, the thing we remember about those who lead us is what they were like. You know, if you think about people who you look up to or you've got fond memories, or even when we think about the teachers we had at school and those we liked and those we disliked, we probably don't remember what they taught, but we remember how they taught it. We remember whether they had time for us. We remember whether they were kind, whether they were funny. And when it comes to the examples of people following Jesus, we think about, do we think they had integrity? Did they model what it looked like to follow Jesus? That we remember as a I'd love to be like that. And because that's the most important thing. When I think about those I want on my youth team, I want them to be following Jesus and their whole life a great example to the young people that follow. And yet when we think about asking people to help out on our youth work, we probably don't go, do you think you're a good role model for young people as to what it looks like to follow Jesus passionately? We probably go, can you do Wednesday night and are you free every week? And as long as you're awake and alive and willing, you're on the team. But we set the bar too low. And maybe we need to set the bar higher for those who join our teams. But that starts with ourselves. How would you answer the question, are you a good role model of a follower of Jesus to set to the young people? Because they will see through us. You can't talk the talk and not walk it. At least not for very long. And Paul writes about this at the ends of Philippians chapter 4 in verse 9. He says, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice and the God of peace will be with you. So let's just have a look at that. Whatever you've learned, this is his parting message to the Philippian church. In fact, he's writing this from prison and he's not sure he's going to see them again. And he goes, whatever you have learned from me. So whatever I've taught you, or whatever you've received from me in terms of whatever I've grown in you, or whatever you've heard from me, whether it's when you've been hearing me give talks or in discussions or answering people's questions, or whatever you've seen in me, because we see other people, don't we? And we see their lifestyles, we see their lifestyle choices, we see how they prioritize. And he says, whatever you've seen in me, put it into practice, because Paul is confident that he is doing whatever he can to be obedient to Christ. What an amazing thing to be able to say. He's that confident that he says, put what you see in me into practice. Says elsewhere, he says, imitate me as I imitate Christ. And that's our goal, to be imitators of Christ in our local context, in our local community, in our local church. But what a big challenge. And therefore, we need to make sure we are not going so fast, so quickly, so busily that we don't have time to hold the mirror up to ourselves. We need, there's the thing about we're human beings before we're human doings. And it's a good line, but it's really important that actually, if we're doing more than we're being, we've got it wrong. The danger is we're so busy doing that actually we've let ourselves go. And there's areas of our lives where that is just not Christ-like. And that's not good. I was struck by a conversation I had a few years ago with a lot of volunteer youth leaders and actually employed youth leaders who were not willing to let young people see their social media account. Now, of course, there's an appropriateness or an inappropriateness of being friends with a young person. But actually, some of our accounts people can follow without us following them back, like Instagram, for example. And I was intrigued by one leader saying, oh, they keep their account private because they don't want the young people to see what they get up to. Now, I pushed a bit, and I don't think there was anything inappropriate that they would want to see, but they just felt it was a wrong boundary. Now, that may be right, but the message behind it which concerned me was, am I doing stuff that I wouldn't want the young people to see? Or when I'm with friends, perhaps who don't know Jesus, does my lifestyle still model Christ crucified and rose for me? Or actually, would I not want people to see it? Because we can't talk the talk without walking the walk. We've got to be doing it when we're not doing the youth work. You know, all of us involved in youth and children's ministry are not part-time. We're full-time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Whatever we do, how we act with our families, how we act with our time off, how we act in our devotions, how we act when we are just walking down the street, that is all on display because it shines through our character. It comes from our heart, doesn't it? So here's the two things really to think about this week. Firstly, what about yourself? Are you in a place of integrity? Are you in a place where you are a fully devoted follower of Jesus first and foremost? That our relationship with our Heavenly Father is our priority, our number one priority. And then number two comes from what we do with him and for him. And then the other thing to think about is, how do we help those who are on our teams, those we lead with, to think through, are you a good role model for Christ? What needs to change? And it's totally okay to go, there's things I know I need to work on, but maybe we need to do it together. Maybe we need the accountability of each other as wounded followers of the way, following Jesus. We're going, can you help me? I need to sort this out. Because the young people will see it. And if they see any signs of hypocrisy, if they see any signs of you're teaching one thing but living something else, then it will put them off drawing close to God. They will just see it as something that's not true. So we have a real responsibility. We have an incredible responsibility in our churches because of the positions of leadership that we have, overseeing children and young people, those who are malleable and vulnerable and having their opinions formed. We can't abuse that position, so we've got to be spot on. We've got to be good. And it fascinates me that this verse, whatever you have learned or received or heard from me or seen in me, put it into practice, and the God of peace will be with you. That verse follows the incredible verse 8, where Paul says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. It's obviously Paul is clear that we've got to take more seriously our own walk with Christ, what we give attention to, what we focus our minds on, what we spend time doing in our day-to-day, because we are role models for Christ, and we need to encourage those who follow us to imitate what we do because we are trying to imitate Christ. Have a great week. Let me know how you get on and go for it.